Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. Our last guest is a New York City singer-songwriter who's always been connected to music, picking up her violin at age 4 and then the guitar at 12, with her interest of inclusivity and storytelling, connecting with others being the most important thing to her. And for that reason, she uses her platform as a singer to give a voice to others, to let them know that they are not alone. And here to share more is singer-songwriter Aria Narang. And Aria,
Hello, how are you?
hello. And where might I ask, are you joining us from?
I am in my Barnard dorm room on 116th Broadway. You can probably tell from the lighting and the noise. But yes, it feels like home.
Well, you can kind of tell that it's a dorm room, and it's just interesting what we shared before we got on air with regards to your journey in creating your recent album, Confessions. Right? I don't even know if that's the proper term, right? Because you're a different generation. Albums, it's not albums. What is it like? What's the reference? The correct reference?
No, you're right. I called it an album,
Oh,
Confession.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
you
good.
did
Oh
good.
my God. Oh, if my daughter was here, she'd be like, Mom, that's not the way we reference it, right? Because everything is streamed. So I'm like, oh, wait, is that a physical thing? Anywho, going
You're
back to Confessions, right? So the Confessions, um, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you actually recorded this whole album in that dorm?
Not this one, but yes, in a dorm room. A dorm room actually half the size of this one.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I recorded Confession in the corner of my dorm room, and my friends would come over and be like, "Oh, that's the setup. That's where you're doing everything." But you know what? You can't tell. I think you can't tell when you listen to Confession that I did it in the dorm room. I have a small little sound barrier thing to keep it alive,
Well,
and
let's talk about that process, because I'm going to assume this was done over the pandemic and now everything's opening, and I know you're performing live in person, but let's just talk about that journey up until now.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been wanting to release these songs for so long, and then of course, when I get the resources and the ability to do it, the pandemic hits, and it's like I can't fly over to Austin and work with the people I want to. And so we kind of, we had this arrangement. I worked with Brian Ray. He lives in Austin, Texas, and we FaceTime, and a lot of the time we're he just sends me a link so I can listen to what he's doing. But it's not the same, right? Like I'll take a vocal take and I'll send it to him, and then I'll hear back the next couple of days that, oh, you know what, you need to redo this. So it's not like I can be there in the room with him. But I do think that it's interesting that it happened during the pandemic, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, because it really taught me to grow on my own and listen to myself, because I'm alone. And it also, it's hope for everyone that anything is possible. Whenever you want to do something, whether or not the whole world is falling apart, you could do it.
Yeah, no, and thank you for those words, but something that you just mentioned stood out for me in how it helped you grow in being by yourself, because now you were basically reliant on your ear before,
Exactly.
right? Versus having somebody to prove it before,
Right. Yeah, it
right,
taught
before
myself.
you actually, right. So would you say that it enhanced your abilities as a producer?
Yes, and that's so interesting that you said that, because I've never had any training there. But a lot of the times I'll catch myself, hearing an instrument or something, and just quickly sending a text over to my producer asking, how could I put this in? And now I've kind of got this really good understanding of how all these instruments come together. And actually, it's very interesting now because I used Logic Pro, which is a lot of what people use for technology, but I didn't have a whole studio. But now I kind of know some tips and tricks on Logic, and I know how to add some instruments and do things like that. So it's very cool because I never knew how to do any of that before I started this journey.
Yeah, so you became an engineer in the process.
Yeah,
But
a little bit.
yeah, but and I'm saying that only to say that the pandemic has obviously impacted all of us in somewhat. It's not somewhat, in a traumatic way, right?
Yes.
But then there's this other side to it, which is the side that we're discussing right now, where we were kind of placed in positions, all of us, right, in our respective areas, to kind of like learn or expand on whatever it is that we were already
Right.
in, right? Or maybe even other aspects of it just to get it done. And
Yes.
because time was there, and because the time was there, is the reason why you were able to develop these skills.
Exactly. And I hate to put COVID in a good light, but there are some benefits there because I talk to so many people and they're like, oh, I picked up guitar over the pandemic or I picked up knitting. And it's like, it's really nice to see because you're never actually forced to spend that time alone with yourself. And you'd be surprised how much you'd grow in that time.
Yeah, and and it's not even necessarily putting it in a light. It's more of like choosing how it is that we're going to walk away from it, right? Because we're already being fed all this negative information, and
Yeah.
we're already like constantly, it's like constantly being shoved down our throats in some form. And now the mental health crisis is in full force. And so I think it's important that we do share these stories of like, well, I got this out of it, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. It is very important to look at it that way. I totally agree.
So I know you're going to be performing one of the songs from Confessions for us, but altogether, how many songs does the album consist of?
Seven. Seven songs. It's a smaller album. I didn't want to put too much out there. I also, kind of had limited time over here, so but I put my best foot forward. I really put songs that mean a lot to me out there, and it really does tell a story. I always make sure that people, the first time they listen to an album, they listen to it top to finish because there really is an order to it. It really kind of tells my story.
Right, from beginning to end, not just the song itself. And I dig your flavor too. I dig your flavor, and you guys are going to dig it too. But before we take the break, and for Aria to play for us, just give us a little insight with regards to the song that we're going to hear, "Shackled."
Yes, and actually, this is great because Shackled is a song I wrote in the very beginning of the pandemic. And, it says it in the name. I just felt shackled down, and a lot of the lines are about kind of going insane. But I remember kind of writing this song, and it just felt like a release of everything that I was feeling. So I really think all of you will relate to it, and I hope you enjoy Shackled and stream Confession.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Once again, that's singer-songwriter Aria Narang, and don't go anywhere because when we return, she's going to perform "Shackled" for us.
Thank you.